Hello, in this video I'm planning on focusing specifically on two planetary archangels, Archangel Caziel of Saturn and Archangel Asaraiel of Neptune. I spoke on these two angels briefly in the introduction to Archangel Asaraiel because the planets Saturn and Neptune are very closely in conjunction with one another in the heavens at the moment, and indeed they were back in May 2025 when Archangel Asaraiel drew my attention to the need to make the connection with the forces that emulate from Neptune and within the jurisdiction of that archangel. That's all in the introduction. But today I'm going to focus solely on the combination of these two archangels. I said before that the teaching and stable and rather serious quality of the Saturn frequency, Archangel Caziel, I feel that as these planets came in conjunction, so that teaching frequency and the ability to learn and grasp concepts made it possible to understand what was going on within the influence of Archangel Asaraiel of Neptune, because the Neptune influence is very hard to pin. It's mystical because it very much involves the intuitive part of the brain and not the logical part of the brain, not the thinking mind or calculating or working things out. So we have Saturn, who does study and learn and help us understand, combining with the very difficult to pin energies of Neptune. And as they have come closer in conjunction in the heavens, so it has become possible to study the effect of that double influence, which is strongly affecting all of us on planet Earth, has been for the last year. Since the very beginning of February 2025, those two planets were within 10 degrees of one another, and that closeness has grown. And we are currently facing the conjunction where they are in the exact degree, 0 degrees. They will both be in Aries at 0 degrees, but not on the exact degrees. The degrees are split into 60 minutes as well. And when Saturn, which is currently showing in the constellation Pisces in the sky, when that moves into Aries on the 14th of February, Saturday the 14th of February, the coming Saturday, it will then be very close with the Archangel Asaraiel of Neptune, which is also at 0 degrees, 0 degrees and 33 minutes. Saturn will be 0 degrees 3 minutes. So they're not exactly at the very same point, but so close. And it's just a matter of days later when they are both at 0 degrees Aries and perhaps 44, 45 minutes. And they will both be at that point. So, and from then on, they remain very, very close in Aries, and the effect of that we've yet to see. I'd like to refer back to the last time that these two planets were in conjunction. It wasn't in Aries, and this was back in the 1980s, and at that time the Berlin Wall fell, and so began the collapse of communism. Well, in the coming weeks, they are back in conjunction again in Aries. And on the 21st of March, the Sun also enters Aries for the spring equinox. And many astrologers and amateur astrologers are looking at that point to see what might happen within the world, because it is the planetary influences affect the whole of planet Earth. That's the astrology laid out in brief, and if you're interested in that, I recommend looking further into it for yourself. But what happened for me during the teaching time of Archangel Asaraiel under the influence of Archangel Chaziel was that I began to receive a spate of dreams that seemed prophetic in nature. And I was also shown to extend the website that we've been running for a long time now, vendrickarthouse.com. We were shown to extend the prophetic painting side of that into a new section, which is named Days of Angels. And this became live late 2025. And there, within that website, daysofangels.com, is what I've called a prophecy blog. It's not one that people can comment within, but it's where I add significant dreams that we might have had. And first we check in meditation whether each dream should be added, and if that's confirmed, then we add that to the prophecy blog. The dreams that I would like to share with you today are connected by the theme of water, large volumes of water affecting the UK. And I've had several dreams of this ilk, and I would like to read them to you, at least share them with you. They're written out with the dates that I had them in the prophecy blog, and if you're interested, you can refer to that. I'll put the website at the end of this video. I'd also just like to tell you what prompted me to even make this video. And again, we've checked in prayer and meditation whether we should, and yes, it's been confirmed. But what prompted me was reading the very sad interview. Well, my heart went out to an interview that I read with the landlady of a pub, the Swan, in Torcross in Devon, which has an area which has recently suffered, and you may have seen it on the news, from the storm and the rains, that a large section of the road has been washed away, the sea defences were damaged, and the waves were going over the roofs of the houses. And within the interview that I read with the landlady, she said how discombobulating it was. And that is a key word for Archangel Asaraiel. The effect of connecting with that Archangel of Neptune is discombobulating. If you would like to understand why, then please look at the introduction to Asaraiel within this site, this YouTube playlist. Discombobulating, when you can't, everything is thrown into disarray and your mind can't quite grasp what's going on and what to do. There's an instability, and it's an unpleasant state to be in, because we feel that we don't know what's going on, and there can be anxiety and worry, but because this is associated with Archangel Asaraiel, what happens, I found, within that discombobulation and fracturing of our notion of reality and our framework that we're living in, and the pattern of our day, is that we're brought into a different place where we really just have to wait and see, and even pray our way through and feel for the answer intuitively, moving with what is right in front of your face that needs doing, with what feels right. And through that discombobulation brought on by Archangel Asaraiel, we can begin to move by our intuition and be guided by that. And we are all going to need that. But we do in life anyway, but as the time moves on, it's increasingly important that we make that inner connection so that we can be guided inwardly, not outwardly, by the news, by the governments, by anybody, even by religious leaders, by anybody, but by your own inner guidance. And it's vital because that inner guidance, it comes from a relationship that is a holy and divine relationship, and that's what we need. I would like to speak on some of the dreams now. They're very watery, and of course Archangel Asaraiel is the angel of the sea, and this involves the sea. So I've had many dreams that are of a prophetic ilk over the decades, and many of these are listed in the Days of Angels website. Many are not, many are personal and have guided me and my family in our life, and even friends. But the ones that I'll share today will be ones that I've had since the conjunction became apparent and more strong from February, end of January really, in 2025 through till now. So the first dream of these watery dreams, in January 2025, I dreamed of a church up in Caithness, which usually has a small congregation. There are many empty seats in the pews, but within this dream, the church was packed out. Usually it might be full at Christmas, perhaps some other times as well. But on this occasion, it was packed out to overflowing, and I saw within the congregation faces that I recognized from a church in Wales. Within the dream, one of the Scottish congregation came in with an embroidered tapestry of the United Kingdom, and at the top of the island over Scotland was an embroidered water dragon in a turquoise kind of colour, aqua turquoise, shiny. It was a beautiful tapestry, and as I looked at it, I saw two large banks of cloud extending from the very north of England, both east and west, all the way down, covering Wales, covering the coastlines completely, extending out to the sea and coming inland, so you could no longer make out the shape of Britain. You could see the shape of Scotland. It wasn't affected by these enormous banks of cloud, but all of Wales and England and all of the east coast of England, indistinguishable. So that was that dream in January 25. In April 25, one of my sons related a dream he'd had. I'd not told him about my dream. And he said that he had dreamed that he was in southeast England. And then he became aware that two huge tidal waves were approaching from either side of Britain. And he knew that he had to hurry to somewhere in central England, up on a ridge where he knew of a tree where he felt he would be safe. Within the dream, he reached to this place and the tree was storm battered, but from his vantage point on the ridge, looking down either side, tidal waves had indeed come, and there was water everywhere on either side. In both of the dreams that I've just related, neither of us had any remembrance of what happened in Ireland, so I can just relate what is dreamed and remembered. In September 2025, I dreamed in one night 2 watery dreams. By now, I had made my connection with Archangel Asaraiel, and the conjunction was well underway between Saturn and Neptune. So the dreams that I had in September 2025, the first one, I was looking at people standing at the top of a park in Llanelli in South Wales. They were looking anxiously up at the sky where a peculiar cloud was forming, as if it was made from iron filings that were little dots, little black dots that were all being drawn together into an enormous cloud. It was already cloudy and it was already raining, but this was becoming an even blacker cloud. And as I looked at them, I realized all the people were wearing inflatable tents, big inflatable tents that they, and I realized that they had to leave their homes. It was raining, and it had been raining. They'd had to leave their homes and were literally now carrying their home on their back. And from that scene in that dream, I dreamed of Devon. This was in September 25, and I dreamed of my sister who lives in North Devon, who had arrived in a train station very upset with bags of her belongings, and she had them strewn out all over the floor to dry out because everything was soaking wet. And I was with her and I was gathering them up because the station was filling with so many people that my sister's belongings were in the way. The station was filling with people in a situation that felt like an emergency situation to get away from this water, this rain, whatever it was. I just knew that her belongings were wet, and I don't know what caused them to be wet, actually. Yes, because the dream just took place inside the station. I looked online to see where is the nearest train station to where she actually lives that could fit this scenario that I dreamed, and it was Exeter train station. So those dreams both happened on the same night, which caused me to wonder if perhaps the same watery phenomenon had affected both areas, but that now is moving into the realm of interpretation. And I do not wish to offer interpretations of these dreams, but to lay them out before you, unless I've been guided to do so, and specific things have been received to share in this way. The next dream, on the 10th of November 2025, it was raining and I heard the word Norfolk spoken. I looked out of the windows of my home and it was raining, and I saw then inside our pet cat trying to get inside one of the tortoise vivariums to use it as a litter tray. And I thought, that shouldn't be happening. The cat should be going outside or in his own litter tray. And then I heard the word Norfolk spoken again, and I woke up and I realized that this situation of a cat perhaps not being able to get outside to defecate was occurring or was related to Norfolk in southeastern England. Now, this dream, we did ask in meditation for confirmation, because in my earlier work with the planetary archangels, the tortoise had been a correspondence for communication from the Archangel Caziel of Saturn. And it occurred to me that perhaps this link between cat and tortoise was somehow related to the connection between Saturn and Neptune. So this was asked, and what was spoken in the meditation was, yes, your interpretation is correct. And the cat in this dream, because I asked, was the cat symbolic of the planet Neptune? And was told the cat is symbolic of any creature that is sensitive to water. So you see, from that message with the dream, I felt that a large amount of water is going to be on the land in Norfolk, and perhaps the dream had been given so that people could prepare in some way, that their pets might need access to the indoors for longer than usual, or even by way of preparing for other creatures, woodland creatures, even creatures that that might not be able to escape a lot of groundwater without help. That dream then is also related in the Days of Angels prophecy blog. And the final dream that I would like to share, I dreamed on the new moon in December 2025. And I had a very powerful personal dream. And then that dream was followed by the one I'll relate now, where this, again, it involves a map of Britain. And this time I was looking at Britain with a bird's eye view again. I was situated in or above the waters of the Pentland Firth, looking down the whole of Scotland and down the whole of Britain. And I could see that the coastlines of Wales and England and a significant amount of land either side of those coastlines were not distinguishable. There were huge amounts of water covering. So that was England and Wales. I couldn't make out much, but the centre portion of England was not covered with water and was dry. I can't say for the very, very south coast, but centrally, like a central band, kind of south to north, was visible. I'm not sure how far south. And the coastline of Scotland was clear. It wasn't covered by water. And positioned along the map of Scotland were 4 small glass ramekin dishes, which were all iced up. They weren't solid full of ice, but they were icy. They covered in a layer of ice on the inside and outside. When I woke up, I thought that perhaps this meant an event would happen where Scotland was very icy and at the same time England and Wales were covered with large amounts of water. And it occurred to me that because I dreamed this on a new moon, that perhaps the 4 ramekin dishes themselves represented 4 moons, 4 months. And this was asked in meditation and was verified. Yes, the 4 dishes represented 4 moons. That's all the extra information I have on those. I would just like to say that the danger of making an interpretation for myself from these dreams, because it's very a natural response to a dream is to wonder what it means, and given that additional confirmation that the 4 ramekin dishes represented 4 moons, I thought perhaps that meant the next 4 months of winter. Indeed, after that dream we did get quite a lot of snow for a week or two. That it was frozen, but since then it had become milder again. So it wasn't the 4 months following that dream, at least not in the way that I was interpreting it for a big freeze on Scotland. But nevertheless, they represented 4 moons. I shall not attempt any further interpretation. I've had ideas, but another thing that we were told in meditation was that it's not for you to know. It's not for you to know. And previously, in asking about biblical prophecy, some specific things were spoken. I asked about and was told it's not meant to be known, but to be discovered, which sounds a little cryptic. But I do firmly feel that each of us has that capacity to be guided inwardly via intuition and strong feeling and dreams, and to ask for guidance that way, inwardly, to open yourself up to it. And then when you receive it, it can actually, we've been guided in our life through dreams and made some very big decisions on the basis of those dreams. And because I've learned the importance of trusting my intuition, it flies in the face of logic, even of what seems secure by man's measurements of security. We like to think if we've got perhaps a roof over our heads, money in the bank, food in our cupboards, a network of people around us, we might think that these are things that we need for our security, and we're not willing to let these things go on the basis of following some inner guidance. Well, it is scary sometimes to follow an inner leading. It demands faith, and working with Archangel Asaraiel of Neptune, making that connection and learning to move by intuition, just learning what it is, not putting any expectation on yourself, but just seeing what happens and learning by that. If indeed you can learn to distinguish between guidance from your inner self and the thinking and planning of your own intellect, then to make that separation, then it's a very good start in that, and we are all going to need that. I think the purpose in my sharing these dreams, both in this video and on the Days of Angels website, is that they can act as a confirmation for someone else who might have had a similar dream or be feeling a particular inner guidance to make a change in their life, and hearing that message repeated from another source, even from a stranger, or it can be very comforting and reassuring, especially when you're just learning to trust your own intuition or about to make a very big decision based on trust in intuition, a faith-based decision. So my prayer is that God will lead anybody who would benefit from hearing this video, that God would lead them to it. And I sincerely wish you all the best in terms of making that inner connection, to be guided, because once you learn that you can trust your inner guidance, you have something that can't be taken from you, and that can keep you stable in what would otherwise be very discombobulating circumstances, when others are panicking around you and scared and don't know what to do. Perhaps you'll be able to help them, at least to help them to discover that intuition is there. Thank you.